Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Heads Up with Remko. And this week on the show, I am joined by one of my favorite comedians, Norm Macdonald. There's quite a story attached to this podcast as I went out on a limb here, asking my good friend Maury Eskandani, basically straight up like, hey Maury, I know you know Norm Macdonald. Could we potentially do a podcast? And Norm was extremely gracious with his time, and I guess I should thank Norm as well for his time. But Maury immediately said, yeah, of course, come over to my house. He's coming over for lunch, and you guys can come over to the podcast on the kitchen table. And I was like, whoa, that is pretty cool. That is really intense. And as a longtime fan of Norm's podcasts and of his comedy shows, I was really excited to have him on the show because he also loves the game of poker. So we had a lot of stuff to discuss. Before we get into the podcast, however, I just want to mention the sponsor here of the podcast because Keeps.com is still supporting us. Go to Keeps.com/PokerGo if you want to keep your hair strong and prevent potential future hair loss. Keeps.com is an affordable, scientifically validated, and FDA-approved medication to stop hair loss. How does it work, you might ask? Well, this is an online subscription platform, so there's no need to go to the doctor. All you need to do is answer a few questions online, send in a few photos, and within 24 hours, an actual doctor will provide you with a personalized diagnosis and treatment plan. So go to Keeps.com/PokerGo to read more and start your treatment plan today. They focus on overall thinning of hair, receding hairlines, and thinning at the crown. The products vary from $7 up to $23 per month. And like I said, after a doctor looks at your situation, he will make his recommendation. So one more time, Keeps.com/PokerGo. Then diving into the podcast with Norm Macdonald, it gets pretty dark. Let me just say that right here off the bat. Norm is a compulsive gambler, as he says it himself, and poker has been a way for him to stay away from the gambling. And his stories are really intense, and there's some funny ones, there's some dark ones, like I said, and there's an amazing one in there about winning $100,000 playing craps in Atlantic City and going home with the money in chips and putting it in his fridge and cashing them out $10,000 at the time and then losing it back in the process. But of course, Norm tells the story much better than I can, but just a little tease here to start off the show. Norm also loves sports betting. He loves playing poker. He still does. And he has ongoing shows all around the country. So if you are inspired to hear more from Norm, please check out his Twitter page and have a look at his upcoming shows and feel free to support him because he might parlay some of that money that you use to buy some tickets into a buy-in of some kind of poker tournament. As we get into the show, please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast network, and feel free to email me on podcast@PokerCentral if you want to chime in with some hot takes, or if you want to suggest a guest, or if you have Barack Obama's cell phone number, please pass it along. Without further ado, let's get to the podcast with Norm Macdonald. All right, Norm Macdonald, welcome to Heads Up with Remko. No poker chips, no poker table, but I think this table will do just fine.
Yeah, it's nice. This could be a poker table. Any table could be a poker table.
I like how you think. Let's start with the present. Nice little lunch. We've been invited by Maury Eskandani.
Yeah, the great Maury who changed the face of poker. And we're at his house.
And it's rather lovely. There's a fruit spread on the counter. The hospitality is next level.
It's wonderful. His family makes something.
Is this just a way for him to beat you out of $10,000 playing golf?
He hasn't beat me out of anything. He is an incredible putter. I thought I'd out-putt him, but I say in all chagrin that he's a better putter than I am, it turns out. On his home thing, obviously.
It must be the life to have a putting course just in your backyard. I
have one.
I was going to say, have you reached that level yet?
Well, no. I just have a condo, but I got it because it has a swimming pool on one side. It's super cheap. An Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Wow.
So if you bought a house with an Olympic-sized swimming pool in L.A., it'd be like $10 million. This place was like $200,000. So I have that on one side and then this 18-hole putting green on the other. So I putt about 1,000 putts a day.
Wow, that's a big number. You did say that you suck at golf.
Yes.
So you're only good at the putting.
I'm good at winning. You know what I mean? But I'm pretty bad at golf, but I can beat people though.
The cool thing for me is to see someone like yourself in this poker world,
Yeah.
which seems to be sort of the perfect combination for people from all walks of life to act out in the best possible way, and
Yeah.
the degeneracy that comes along with that
Yeah.
fits into many lifestyles, and I guess it still does into yours as well. What's the relationship with Vegas been like over the years?
The relationship with Vegas has been pretty good. It got bad in online, because it became like, at one point I was playing like, 20 1-2 games at the same time.
Wow.
And then I'd make money every day, but then I'd try to go to sleep and you close your eyes and there's just all these images going in the back of your eyelids, Because I used to have the same thing when I played Pac-Man. I'm addicted to video games. You go to L.A. and play any Pac-Man game, you'll see my name on number one. But I used to, same thing, I try to go to sleep and there's be like images going on. Like, it's different than real life poker,
So you got into poker because of the...
I got into poker so I wouldn't bleed money. I originally got into poker because I was in New York when I was a kid, and I played backgammon. This is way back, like I was 16. And backgammon was a big game, And I still think the doubling cube is the greatest gambling thing ever invented. But anyways, people began cheating like crazy, because it's dice inside of a thing. You don't know what's going on. So everybody all the backgammon players moved toward poker, and there was only one room. It was a place that's in Rounders.
Mayfair,
yeah. And there was actually like a rumor that it was about me, but it was not about me. But I knew those characters because there was a guy that Shorturo played, Joey Knish, and his real name was Joey Bagels. But he was much more interesting than the movie character, because he was called Joey Bagels because he owned a bagel truck, and he would deliver bagels, and he would pick me up in this crazy bagel. He hadn't told his wife that he had quit the bagel.
Oh no!
For like 2 years, and he'd pick me up on this insane bagel truck, or just an empty truck. And if someone was sitting in the front, I'd just be like cargo and sitting in the back. But he was a very interesting guy. But the problem was you had to deal yourself. So I'd be flashing every card, and then other guys could be magicians. I didn't know.
Wait, so how young were you? Because you said you were 16 playing backgammon. You must have been really young playing at the Mayfair then. You must have been one of the young kids there.
Yeah, I was pretty young. I was like,
what was that vibe like?
16.
Was that like a smoky, sort of low ceiling kind of place?
It was crazy how low stakes it was looking back, because there was one no limit table and no one ever went near it. No limit hold'em, right? Everybody played low ball, pot limit. But there was this one no limit hold'em table, and then whenever somebody was all in, a big crowd would gather. I don't know. There was probably $400 in the. I don't know. It wasn't much. I know that. And then the guy go in the tank for 15 minutes. Nobody thought anything of it. I wonder what he's going to do. So now looking back, it seems so crazy that's probably how it should be. But.
Did you have any idea back in those days that poker, the World Series of Poker, was a thing? And did you sort of see this be a mainstream thing that people would be interested in watching as well? Or were you just sort of in it for the playing?
No, I never thought it would be anything. And when I was in Vegas and I knew these guys, I mean, they were all right, but they were kind of shady kind of guys, a lot of them. And then to see them become celebrities, I'm like, what? Wait a minute, huh? But so that surprised me. And also the idea of Hold'em surprised me. But I think Rounders, in that first scene, so perfectly explained Hold'em, in a sophisticated hand, in a way that was really amazing, how they portrayed that one first hand to set it up. So that was really, I think it was that, and then, of course, Moneymaker won. But
Koppelman did such a great job with that story and the way it was written, and I've probably watched that movie like 15 times.
Yeah, isn't that story, that first hand, incredible?
It just works, because poker is the easiest thing to screw up in a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And you see it all the time.
Like the Cincinnati Kid.
Oh my God! Like I check and I raise. Like it doesn't work like that.
I always watch that Cincinnati Kid. I got it on a thing because the greatest player, Edward G. Robinson, he's drawing to an inside straight flush, and Steve McQueen like has 4 or 5s or whatever he has. He has quads on board, and then he just keeps drawing to this inside straight flush with all this money in the pot. And then even the dealer had to go like, that was idiotic. Like, why'd you do that? And then he goes, it's all, Edward G. Robinson goes, it's all about doing the wrong thing at the right time. Which doesn't make any sense at all. That's what it's about. But yeah, and the same with Maverick, and it's always comes down to Full House against 4 of a kind.
I mean, James Bond was like a royal flush, quads, a straight flush. They had every possible big hand clash. And they were betting whole countries on that one hand.
Right.
What's your earliest memory of Las Vegas?
I went with my mother and my aunt. This was before I realized I had a compulsion that was within me. And I went with my mother and my aunt to the Excalibur Hotel. And I remember going, they were checking in. I said, I'll just go. I had $2,000. And I was worth about $3,000 at the time. So I went to the pit. I played blackjack, one hand, which suddenly turned into 6 hands because of split double and all this. I just have all my money in the pot and lose, and then they're not even checked in yet. So I have to go back, and they're not checked in, and I have to hide my fury, And then the whole weekend I'm just in my room, and my aunt would come in like, I'm up 35 cents. She'd have this bunch of nickels. She did much better than me. And I was just I just watch old reruns and try to, if you don't have money in a casino, it's pretty rough.
It's funny how the first experience was a losing one, yet you were tempted to keep returning.
Well, you know what really knocked me out with gambling was a friend of mine who wasn't a gambler said this thing that I thought was real smart. He said, I've always been lucky in gambling. I've never won. Which I think gamblers understand, but I don't. He doesn't gamble, so I thought it was pretty smart of him to say that. But I was playing in Atlantic City. I was just playing $25 blackjack, just to kill time. And then I went broke. I had $300 left, and I went to my friend. I said, "Can you go to my ATM machine and get me some more money?" And I'm passing this craps table. And I don't know anything about craps. It's very intimidating to me at that time. So I said, I'll just try this stupid game. So I put the $300 down, and the guy goes, pass? And I go, yeah. I don't know what he meant. So I put it on the pass line, and then I won. I remember this Asian guy was throwing. And then the guy goes, press? And then I go, what do you think? Because I'm trying to pretend I know. Luckily, as it turned out. So he just kept pressing my bet. And suddenly I had maximum. This guy just kept rolling forever. And I had maximum bet on every. Lori was there. And I had max on every number. And the guy kept rolling. I remember the first guy rolled 45 minutes, and his next friend rolled 50 minutes or something. And I was so nervous. I was putting chips in my pocket. Like I was afraid like I was going to get caught. I didn't know if I was cheating. I didn't know what was going on. And then at the end, finally, the 2 guys finished, and I go, oh, my God, I must have won 20,000 or something like that. And then the guy goes, I think you won a lot more than that, mister, something like that. And then I went to this, it's so seedy, and this is the Trump Taj Mahal. And I dumped all the chips out on this plastic table in this fast food area. And it was like 115,000 or something like that. Then I took it, I could only cash in 10. So I got me and my 2 friends cashed in 10 each. And I took the rest back. I was working at Saturday Night Live at the time. And I took it back to my apartment, put in my fridge. This big bag of chips that were just always in my fridge, like Dahmer would have a severed head or something. It was always in my mind, And then I said, I'll just go back every week and cash the 10,000. That's my stupid idea. That way I won't have to pay taxes. And I'll just pay $25. But you can't pay $25 blackjack anymore because you get $10,000. So I go, I blow it. Next week I blow it. Next week until finally I blew it all, and then a bad compulsion started after that.
In the grand scheme of your career, at that point when that happened, was that a lot of money for you in that moment?
Oh yeah, yes, God, yeah. That was a huge amount. On Saturday Night Live we didn't make that much money, and then But I went completely broke 3 different times.
Like you had to, like a phone a friend kind of broke?
No, I had a job. I always had a job. But I have 0 money in the bank. But I didn't mind. It was all right. I had a job, and then you think, I'll just try to work harder and I'll quit gambling forever.
Is poker a way to not gamble?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I think that's why so much of these poker players turn out to be gamblers, Because I could never understand that when these guys are all about odds. Why would they go near a pit, But I think they're in the tournament, they're holding their gamble in, making the right play, and then they get busted out, and then on their way to the elevator, that's where all the bad stuff happens, Because I remember a poker player telling me, he goes, Phil Ivey's great at craps. I'm like, what are you talking about? No one's great at craps. He's like, he won $2 million yesterday. I'm like, that's bad news for that guy, then, because I love that the guy thought he's a poker player, and he thought they were good craps players and bad craps players.
Is it? I've spoken to many poker players and gamblers over the years, and a lot of them say the same thing. They say it has to hurt in order for it to be fun. Do you subscribe to that theory?
I do. I mean, because I think that other saying about only gamble what you can afford is ridiculous, because then it's not a gamble. Yeah, it's got to hurt. The problem is it hurts more than it feels good. So the risk reward is not good. And most of the times I've won, I've just kept them in chips. I guess because in the back of my mind, I think I'm going to win. If I win, I could win 100,000. I can win $1 billion. But because you start to get tricked. The best poker players have no regard for money, so I think that's a bad trait, to have no regard at all for money. You know what I mean? Because it'll win you tournaments and stuff, but obviously you're going to lose in the long run. And because you're going to carry that over to everything. Although sometimes they don't, because you'll see big games where the dealers don't even want to deal it because they get tipped so little, you know what I mean? So maybe those guys can contain it within only poker. I don't know. I guess poker, any kind of gambling, it's the only reason that it's not a good thing is that it creates nothing. It's all about taking. It's all about winning. Taking someone else's property. It never creates anything. So that's what I think is the worst about it. When I was playing so much online, I started to realize that it wasn't really the money that I cared about losing as much as the time. You spend so much time playing and then thinking about playing and then trying to be better.
So were you for anyone to place 20 tables, or even if you play 6 or more tables, you have to have a certain acumen for the game or a certain knack for it, or at least a certain drive and a passion. Like, would you have considered yourself a good player back then? You said you made money.
I was trying to do that so I wouldn't gamble. I was not playing any brilliant plays. I was just playing ABC poker, but just at super low rates, so that my slight edge would accumulate over playing that many games. So that's when I was trying to actually control my swings, and it worked. But that wasn't really gambling. That was more like a job. It turned out to be just as tedious as.
But for someone who's as busy as you are, and you've been involved in so many different projects, and doing your own stand-up and writing of all sorts, how do you sort of still have that sort of extra time to do all this other stuff? Is the universe that within you that you operate within, does it work on 9 to 5 hours? Like, how does this work that you have all that time all the time?
Well, it depends on. Right now, I'm not a compulsive gambler, although maybe it's like alcoholism, maybe it's always inside you. But like one time I hosted Saturday Night Live, and I remember I bet every hockey game, every hockey under for maximum, during the show. So I really didn't care about the show that much, because all I was doing was, at that time you had to check CNN. you had to look at the scroll on CNN. And I remember that scroll on CNN, because this was pre-computers, and you'd look at the scroll, and especially with baseball, because it kept going across the bottom of the screen, and I had it timed, because I usually bet unders, and I had it timed for if it kept being the same score for over like 6 minutes or something, I knew somebody was going to score, you know. But yeah, it's bad. It's also bad to bring gambling everywhere. Like, it's good to go to Vegas. People go to Vegas and they blow some money and they go home. But then when you bring the casino to every town, people that have gambling problems maybe never knew in their life that they had that in them, you know, and now they know because they're sitting in front of a slot machine. All that, you know, there's a lot more serious gamblers than me. Like, I would never sit at a slot machine. I'd never scratch off tickets. I'm not that idiotic. Although maybe thinking, you know, I have some control over dice or cards is the same sort of thing, you know, but I don't consider poker really gambling.
Is there something to say for having a rush when you go on stage or when you do a hosting of SNL, a sort of an adrenaline that you look for outside of that and finding that within gambling? Is it the adrenaline? Yeah,
it is. It's like a lazy man's way of getting adrenaline, yeah, instead of, you know, exercise. Or because they go, you ever get a runner's high? It takes like 20 miles, you know. So I can get the same thing in like 15 seconds.
You tell the guy, have you tried blackjack?
Yeah. The craziest in the sports betting thing I did was this thing called Lightning, where you pretty well have to bet the over to make it worthwhile. But it's husband is like $1,000 a point, so a basket would be. So let's say the over/under was 180 or 190, let's say. Then you start, you know, 190,000 in the hole, basically, you know. So every basket is $2,000.
Wow.
You know, until it hits 190, and then it's like magic every time it goes in. But it keeps you involved the entire game. You're like, you just go up and down. But then once it hits that number, and if it goes to overtime, it's just insane. It's just... But that's adrenaline, like, over a long period of time. But then it drains you adrenaline, too, you know. It's like, I don't do drugs, but I've never done them. But I imagine it's like when people say they do cocaine or whatever, and all the serotonin rushes out and you're left fatigued. And that's what heavy-duty gambling does to me. It leaves me fatigued. And then when I used to walk into a casino, I'd suddenly be filled with nausea, you know, excited, but at the same time sick, because I knew what was going to happen, but hoped the opposite, sort of.
Does the rush of adrenaline ever wear off with regards to going on stage after having done it so many times? Does that ever change?
Yeah, no, it's you know what? It more changes, and the same with gambling, to relief rather than adrenaline. It's either despair or relief after a while. The adrenaline doesn't allow you to be super excited. You're just like, thank God I dodged that, you know what I mean? And with going on stage now, my expectations are so high that I have to kill all the way through, or I consider it a failure. So I don't get real happy. I'm just relieved that I got through it one more time.
What could make it not go well for someone who's done it so many times? Is that the crowd being assholes, or is that just...
No, not much can go wrong. But sometimes, sometimes if the crowd is super drunk, that's a lot. Then you're in trouble. You have to kind of just throw away your act and just talk to people at that point, or you're dead. Or drink. Like, if you go, give me a shot, suddenly everyone applauds, and then all you do is drink, and they think you're a superhero.
You've been surrounded by some of the most creative and funny people of the last couple of decades through SNL and through performing, and I'm sure you've made many friends within that as well. Do you see that there's, you know, a correlation between how the minds of those people work and how your mind works, and also the type of outlets they have outside of performing that, you know, can bite them in the ass? You said you're not a drugs guy, but there's many stories of people in your world that, you know, get hooked on drugs.
Right.
Is that a sort of a way to look at it?
Yeah, I think most people in entertainment, you know, a lot of them do drugs or drink, but most of them, I think, are obsessed with money and material things. And luckily I'm not because I'm an immoral or anything like that, but just I don't know, everything looks boring to me. Like I walk through a mall, I go, I don't want any of this stuff, you know. I'd rather just have like a bed and, you know, too much. I was wondering, you know, they say that trappings of success. Like I was wondering if that was supposed to be ironic, that it trapped you, or if that wasn't. But that is what happens. I've seen people have 6 houses, or I don't want 6 houses, you know. And then suddenly you have to rent them, and suddenly you're a landlord, and you're always looking at your bank account and stuff. So I don't really like stuff that much. So that allows me to gamble a little more too. That allows me to, I shouldn't say gamble. It allows me to play poker a little more too, because you know, I can afford it from all the stuff I don't buy.
So if money is the motivator for many people in entertainment, what's your motivator?
To do entertainment? I mostly just do stand-up. Other things I just take because they're offered to me, and then it gives me more money to do stand-up. But that's really all I like to do is stand-up. And I don't know, I'm just good at it, and people laugh, and then when people are laughing, I feel I must be doing something on earth that's a little worthwhile, you know, because I wouldn't be able to do anything else. I'm not capable of doing anything else.
Is stand-up a compulsion in that way?
It's a compulsion to always get better, you know, because it's a very new form of entertainment. Stand-up hasn't been around very long, and when you look at it, like everybody's doing the same thing for the last 40 years, and not much innovation in stand-up. So, but that's a good thing, because there's always new things you can learn and new ways, you know, you can be original, which you can't if you're an author or something like that. You know, you'll never reach the level of a master Russian novelist or anything like that. But stand-up's so new that you can actually be innovative and stuff.
How much on a night-to-night basis do you adjust and change within those shows, and how set is it before you go on stage?
Oh, it's always completely different. What I do is I have a very rock-solid punchline and a rock-solid, idea that I know will be funny, you know. And then I just wander around that idea. And so for one thing, I could not memorize, like some guys can, and I admire them. They memorize word for word. But if I do that, I'm not a good enough comic actor to pull it off. It just seems rote. So instead, I just talk, and then it seems very naturalistic, because it is, you know. But I know I'm going to come up on these certain touchstones where I'll absolutely get a laugh, so I can just relax between, you know, and talk like regular people talk.
Do you also feel like there's a challenge in pushing yourself, seeing how far you can go with certain things, or seeing if you can, you know, get a laugh elsewhere outside of that sort of stepping stone you're looking for?
Yeah, that's what ends up happening, because it's the pressure of being there makes you say funny things that you hadn't thought of before, because as the silence, you know, surrounds you and compresses you, you have to push outwards, or you don't survive. So you couldn't do it at home just practicing it in front of a mirror, but in front of all these people, you're forced to think up something funny, and that's where usually the funniest stuff comes from. The idea on the way to the idea. How
much? I love your recent Netflix special, Hitler's Dog. I think is really good.
Thank you very much.
How much of the laughs did you get is sort of the Norm Macdonald factor? Like, they're there to laugh, they are ready to laugh, so they are also willing to laugh. Does that become a more and more of a factor as you get more notoriety over time, or? Sometimes I watch a bit and you cough and people laugh, and it's funny how that works. Do you see that as well, or do you play on that, knowing that certain small things can set people off?
Well, it's hard to say because I don't know how many people are just, obviously your fans come when you're established, when they didn't when you started out. So it's hard for me to tell. But a lot of times people think I just talk because I have an odd voice and stuff, and they just think I could say anything, it'd be funny. But I'm incredibly material dependent. And I've seen other guys that aren't, that can just, say a bunch of funny nonsense and destroy with it, but I can't do that. But I can do it in between because I know, I'm so confident because I know what's coming that I can just relax and then occasionally say funny things. But I know what you're talking about. Sometimes people will laugh at a place I didn't think they would laugh, and maybe it's because they already like me, or maybe it is because I do have an odd voice and kind of stumbling, slurring delivery. Like most people think I'm drunk, and I don't drink or do drugs, and I go, no, I'm just naturally incoherent and lazy.
Before a very antsy Maury Escondido leaves the building because he has much more important things to do, I want to bring up the fact that you did commentary on High Stakes Poker.
Oh, yeah.
And the sort of how the deadpan delivery threw off poker fans all over the world. But at the same time, the more you watch it, the funnier it gets. Look back on that experience for me, and please make fun of Maury because
Maury saved me. I had to because I don't know as much. I'm not nearly as good as Gabe Kaplan. Gabe Kaplan knows a lot about poker, and I know slightly more than AJ Benza. So I would just sit there and I go, oh, man, that guy must have sixes. And then Maury would go, what, are you an idiot? And I go, oh. And they'd show you the cards. But, when you see the cards, suddenly it's much easier to be a genius. You're like, well, how can he be thinking of folding? Clearly the guy has a set. And you're just looking at the set.
But
I remember when the World Series and the finals, they wouldn't show the cards. Because I remember hours and hours. And then they'd have Antonio and Phil in the booth or something, and they'd be guessing the cards, and they'd never get it right. And then they'd be looking, what does he have? It's all different when you can see the cards.
Do you think poker is too serious for comedic style commentary along the lines of sort of the style that you have?
Well, they take it pretty serious, poker players. So when you joke around sometimes, it was like when Dennis Miller did Monday Night Football. You know what I mean? Like the guys in Tennessee didn't like the Sylvia Plath references when a guy would kick a field goal and not cover. I think when sports gambling happens, they should have one that's only, one station that's only doing the spread. They don't even talk about the actual score.
I like that. Last year when Scott Blumstein made the final table, you were almost tweeting play-by-play. You were nearly faster than the actual cards, and I got a kick out of that, sort of seeing how involved you were in it. Where did that come from?
Well, I start one time I tweeted a golf tournament just for fun, and then the next golf tournament came out, and then people go, "Hey, thanks." Like I was at my mother-in-law's, having to listen to her yammering while the game was on. So I missed the game, but I was always looking at my phone. So then I thought, oh, this will be fun, And then I'd make little predictions too and stuff like that. So, and then I did that. And I was also direct messaging Scott all the way through it too. I don't know if that's legal or not. But
I'm pretty sure it is, but that sort of goes to show how much you love the game. I mean, there's not many people that can, sit there and just watch and actually just watch it to watch like that.
Yeah, I mean, I like Hold'em maybe least of all games, but I love Hold'em too. I love all poker games. Yeah,
that's music to my ears because Hold'em is at the bottom of my list as well.
Yeah, it seems like. One time I was at a table as a joke. I said you know what I say about Hold'em? It takes 5 minutes to learn, but 10 minutes to master. Everyone got mad. I'm like, that's just a joke. But it's kind of true. It's true in the sense that any moron could win No Limit Hold'em. They could win the entire championship. where that would not happen with a lot of poker games. That would be impossible.
So what are you waiting for?
That's true. I should just buy a lottery ticket every year to that main event. I guess I will this year. I got too many of those stupid tournament chips from Sit and Goes.
Yeah, I saw the interview on Poker News with Jeff Platt, and he gave you a lot of praise for winning that Sit and Go, and you said that's your game, the Sit and Go.
Yeah, I love those Sit and Goes. But they used to have $915 ones, but now they're just like $275 was the highest I shot. But I got like 3 out of 4, and then I came in second, and I didn't want to make a deal because I'm trying to learn heads up. I always make deals, and then I'm like, well, what happens if I want to learn how to play heads up poker, which I don't know how to play at all.
You're saying the main event's in the cards this year? Oh.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That I predict I win the main event.
That's on record now?
I may as well, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, any idiot can win it.
Then
right?
I look doubly genius.
Exactly.
Like, how is it luck? He fucking said it.
It is cool, though, to sort of see the main event as this spectacle, unlike any other. Like, I know you're big into golf, like the Masters, you have to be really fucking good at golf to even have a chance.
Yeah.
In the main event, you have to be a good player to win, but you also can just be Norm Macdonald and just enter the tournament and go on a little bit of a run, and all of a sudden, here you are.
Right. That doesn't happen in the actual World Series.
Well, I mean, I've seen it happen many times in the main event.
But I mean in the World Series of poker of baseball.
Oh, I see.
You can't just show up.
No, that's true.
Luckily.
But is that part of what makes poker so exciting? That
I think that's what makes it exciting for the public, yeah. That anybody can come and, it was obviously Chris Moneymaker with that perfect name and that perfect story. That was the main guy.
What I was trying to get to is, have you taken your shots in World Series events in the past? Have you dabbled?
Yeah. No, I won. Whatever. But I hate it because you go to the bathroom and then you walk through a million. You're not supposed to. What's the point of looking at other tables? I know it doesn't matter how many tables are, but you just see massive stacks. And then one time I was chip leader halfway through the day on day 1B, and then I was broke by a dinner break because I started to feel invincible. I'm like, oh, how can I lose?
I mean, that's the easy thing in poker. Losing is for everyone in that sense.
Yeah.
You played on a...
But I'll play. I'll load up on Adderall or something this time.
Trust me, it helps. The show you played on, the Celebrity Shootout with Hank Azaria.
That was funny.
With Brad Garrett. Yeah. Kevin Pollak was there as well.
This is why I'm no good at those things, because I always have so many bets in the casino. And then I'm trying to focus on this. This was for money, so I was really stupid at that time. But this other one I did, which was a celebrity, that one they used to have with that Phil Hellmuth would celebrity poker.
Yeah. So
it was just me and 5 celebrities. But I had all these bets outside, and then I have to run. Where Norm? Because they had to tape it all within a day. It's WPT, so I'd have to race back, and I didn't care, and I couldn't lose. I was trying to, and then on that one, I played it so stupidly, so idiotically, that I still have dreams about how stupid I was on that.
We'll make sure to replay that into infinity to remind you of that.
Yeah. I don't need it replayed because I remember Kevin Pollak just looking at him going, "Oh, of course I know what he has," but I still made the play.
Do guys like Pollak?
He almost jumped out of his chair,
He got pretty close. He lost to Vanessa Selbst for $1 million.
Yeah.
That would have been quite exciting.
But he played right on that one.
He also cashed a main event before, so maybe he can be your mentor.
Yeah. That'd be perfect for me to have a mentor that was another idiot celebrity. That'd be a smart move.
At least he can talk on your level.
Yeah, it's true.
In the sense of celebrities playing poker, there's always these stories of Hollywood and games of the like. But what I'm curious in, was there a peanut game in the SNL back room that you guys play for nickels and dimes?
Did you say peanut?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys had poker chips or if you played with coins. And then when I started playing poker, we played for peanuts.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we did.
Why would you want to win a peanut?
Well, it was more about the pride of having more peanuts than the guy next to you.
Oh. I remember one time I was living in L.A. and my friends came from Toronto and they wanted to play poker nickel for nickels. So, and of course that's the night I had my biggest rush of all time, you know. So I win all the nickels. So now I have like 300 nickels. I don't even want them. And they're like unhappy because to them it's money. So I go, you take that nickel. I don't want them. And I had these nickels forever. And finally I gave them to my mother and she wrapped them all up and stuff. But yeah, that was my biggest rush was I won. I was on fire for all these nickels.
You peaked too soon.
That's right.
But is there much poker within the entertainment world?
No. There's a few guys that have home games in Los Angeles, but you know, a couple of them guys walked in with guns and took the money.
Wow.
So that's not good, and you know it's illegal. And but I played in two with big celebrities, but I'm not as big a celebrity. And then so if I win, you know, I'm not going to come back because why would they want me back? I'm not as big a celebrity as them, and I'm winning. You know, so I'd rather just lose a little and look at their house.
But how do we gauge celebrity? Like, is there like a Twitter follower ranking? Do you?
Are you saying who the best celebrity player?
No. I'm saying like you said, you're not as big of a celebrity. Like, is there like a list? Do you move up and down the list depending on how your Netflix special is doing? Like, how does this work?
Just the way people look at you. No, I don't know what it is. Now, people like me in Los Angeles because I'm good, but like I'm very, very good. But I'm not as successful as they are. It's not a meritocracy. You know what I mean?
And I'm only assuming that for someone in those circles, you're probably too good at poker also.
I probably am, yeah. I'm probably a little too... I'm way too good for them and way too bad for poker pros.
I gave you the platform to say that you're shit at poker. And
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. I do have, in a way, the perfect table image that I don't have to work at or anything, that I'm a celebrity. So everyone assumes celebrities are idiotic, and so yeah. What am I talking about? I do suck at poker.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
at that other part.
when you sit down at a table, you know, do you make sure that people know who you are so you can take advantage of that? Be like,
oh God, no! I don't want people to know. I mean, usually if somebody recognizes me and then they try to explain to the next guy who I am, that's like the most embarrassing. The other guy's like, I don't know. They're like, you don't know, and I'm like, please.
And then
it's very embarrassing because the guy's from, you know, the Czech Republic or something. Like, how's he supposed to know who I am?
You're not very, very big in Belarus?
Belarus. Is that Myanmar?
That's the capital is Minsk.
Oh. What's Myanmar?
Myanmar?
Yeah.
Burma.
Oh, that's Burma, yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy I brushed up on my geography before doing this podcast. I'm glad I made notes on that. It is cool though to see you at the Rio, to see you sort of play poker and love the game so much. And you're saying, you know, you're doing it partly because it's better than the alternative if you are in Vegas.
Yeah, I love it's fun and you know, I like the fellowship and the camaraderie. I like talking to people at tables, which, you know, sometimes the whole table is silent and stuff. But now people talk more and they don't wear their stupid sunglasses all the time. Like, you know, I'm not searching their eyes.
You're trying to figure out if you have a flush or not.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I have. My friend went one time, he was playing blackjack and he was winning, and the guy goes, are you counting or something? He goes, yeah. But he meant he was counting the numbers. He goes, yeah, of course. Of course I'm counting. What are you, an idiot?
That reminds me of when I went to the casino with my cousin one time. I think I was 18, but I was already deep into poker. Yeah. So I told him, do you know how to count cards? And he looks at the table, he goes, yeah, there's 4 cards on the table.
And he gets banned forever.
I don't want to keep you too long. There's a lot of people.
You keep saying that.
Tapping their
Didn't you say that 25 minutes ago?
Tapping on their watch. So no, but in all seriousness, you're a very busy guy. You have a couple shows here in Vegas.
Yeah.
What can we expect from those shows? Because I see the Netflix special, and then I'm assuming if I see you do some show, I'm like, well, I've already seen that on Netflix.
None of that. No. Anything televised is retired forever, as it should be with any self-respecting comedian. Singers get to sing their songs forever, but comedians have to retire it once it's been taped.
There's not like a...
Or they suck.
There's no 12-year-old jokes that you can sort of wiggle in there again at some point?
No. Sometimes I'll do like street jokes, you know. If a guy just tells me a joke, I'll just say that joke. I won't present it as my own, but I'll go, I heard a joke today.
This show, is there a story behind it? Is it personal experiences? Like what is the sort of underlying theme, if there is one?
Well, I don't know, because it's a few days away. But it's funny you say theme, because there is always like an underlying theme to whatever stand-up I'm doing. But sometimes I don't see it till later. But when I'm in Vegas, I can't help not talking about gambling, you know, because I feel that I have a lot of things to say about it, and everyone in the audience knows something about the experiences I'm talking about. So I'll talk a lot about gambling for sure. And
then are there any more specials in the works? Other things you're a part of?
Oh, yeah. Lori's standing over there, sitting over. She's producing a Netflix show for me that starts in September. September, right, Lodge? In September, where we do 10 episodes. It was just me and a guy talking, an interview thing.
Just you and the guy and a man great?
It was based on that show. It's funny, he knows the man great. But that's what got me that show. But the Netflix show is just me interviewing big celebrities.
So is it your best impersonation of David Letterman?
What's that?
Is it your best impersonation of David Letterman?
Well, no, he has a show.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering.
But he's the executive producer of my show.
Oh.
So I have to be not anything like him. So his show is very, very serious, and my show is ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous conversation between two people.
What's the fun about podcasting for you? Because like having it go off the rails and out of line seems to be the goal whenever I turn it on.
Yeah, well, I don't podcast anymore because the Netflix thing is an actual television show. But it was just the complete freedom, because I was doing it for no money. So I would just say whatever I wanted and not care. And that was the fun of it, yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time a lot, and I'll give you my address so you can send me one of those man greats. If you probably have
that'd be awesome.
Your whole garage full of those things still, probably.
Man, this half hour went by super fast.
It was 43 minutes. I cheated a bit on the longer side. But anyway, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
Good luck with your show in Vegas.
All right.
We'll have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely, man. It was fun.